What's up, everybody, and welcome back to this week's episode of Outside the Arena. I'm Griff joined by my co-host, Mac Rommel. And today, well, it's an unusual day for an episode. This is going to be coming out on Sunday morning. We're filming this Saturday night. School has hit us hard, and we're both pretty busy. So episodes, we're working on them coming out as much as possible. And we're also working on still getting guests. That's still a work in progress, but we think we're going to have some potential guys coming on in the future. But for now today, we're going to merge the two episodes we normally do. And we're going to talk some football. We'll maybe talk a little fantasy, and we'll also, give a rundown of the week ahead. And Mac, I want to start with you. We saw the Chiefs-Texans kick off on Thursday night, and, I just want to hear your early first thoughts on what happened Thursday. What did you like that you saw?
I really like the Chiefs. We saw, especially with the Texans, that they're obviously missing DeAndre Hopkins. They really couldn't get the pass game going, especially the deep ball. They were having a little bit of success on the short to intermediate routes at the start of the game, and then kind of picking up the pace towards the end. But the Texans, they were winning with the run game, so I wish they stuck to that a little bit more. David Johnson, at least for that game, look back to that 2016 form where he put up over 2,000 scrimmage yards. But let's go to the Chiefs. They were amazing. Clyde Edwards-Helaire especially. You saw the difference of that offense with the running game. They were so much better and more explosive and unpredictable. You weren't expecting them to pass as much with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And you saw a pretty good balance, especially you thought like last year it would be more of Tyreek Hill in the game plan. He was really not in the game plan that much this past week. Only a few catches. They were winning through Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Over 100 yards, a touchdown. Just a great overall game by the Chiefs.
Yeah, no, I'll be the first one to say I was wrong on Clyde Edwards-Helaire. In previous fantasy episodes, I've said I'm staying away from him in the first round. But from what we saw last night, I loved what I saw. I think you can't say he's worth a first-round pick quite yet, but the signs look to it. The volume is there for him. He got 25 carries, 138 yards, and a touchdown. He looks great on, finding holes. His jukes were on. And one thing I would say about him is he's a small back, and we saw that issue at the goal line. He was unable to punch it in a few times. But like you said, the Chiefs offense looked dominant. It's like when they had Kareem Hunt, you didn't know what was coming at you. And that's kind of what they have now. And, Mahomes, his stats might not even justify how he played because, Demarcus Robinson, I dropped 2 touchdowns, I believe, in that one. He didn't have a great game. But, Pat Mahomes finding the open man. And like you said, Reek really didn't play much of a factor. Obviously, he'll probably be more involved in the game plan. But they've got a lot of weapons. And I guess touching on the Texans quickly, they just kind of looked lost until the fourth quarter. They played garbage time. So, you expect them to put up some points there. But besides David Johnson, I really didn't like what I saw from any Texans players. I didn't really think anyone stood out. Fuller did have a good game. Brandon Cooks was dealing with the injury. Didn't really see him too much in there. But, yeah, the Texans did not look very strong week 1 compared to the Chiefs.
Not at all. Especially you would think they would spread that ball around with the new additions too. Really didn't get Brandon Cooks involved, as you said. And then Randall Cobb, he really played no factor in that offense at all. They were going through David Johnson really through that whole game and then Will Fuller sometimes on the outside. But they really have to find a way to spread the ball to all the receivers because without a true number 1 receiver, you have to find a way to get it to all your receivers. With less skill, you have to spread the ball out more and keep the defense guessing.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Texans. Right now, their defense is not superstar-like. They don't really have a great defense. So, if that offense isn't going up to speed, I really think the Texans are in trouble here.
Yeah, of course. And then on defense, too, as you were saying, really nothing special there. They gave up 34 points. Even to the Chiefs, with that great offense, you never want to see a defense give up that many points, no matter who it's against. But I could say with one player who had a few decent plays was Justin Reed. That first play on Demarcus Robinson, everyone thought it was just a drop ball, but Justin Reed actually got his arm in there to break that up a little bit. So he's a good piece there in the defensive back in the secondary at the safety position who could make some plays. So if you could try and force the ball deep towards him, he can make some plays and potentially get some turnovers for the defense.
Yeah, that'd be huge. Texans defense looks like it needed something. Well, we got a full week, finally, a full Sunday of NFL action. And I want to start with you on this, Mac. Is there a specific game that, I know you're a big Cowboys guy and they got a great, first game of the season, but is there a specific game that, is catching your eye that you're really excited to go watch?
I have two games actually. I'll probably talk about the one most people are looking forward to first, but the main one is the Buccaneers and Saints game. Of course, that's the obvious one. And then I'm going to quickly just say the other game I like, the Cardinals and 49ers. In previous episodes, I said, I love Kyler Murray. I love what they have on that offense now. I think they're going to be a pretty explosive offense. And then against the 49ers, really good defense and run game. That's going to be a really good matchup to watch. I think it'd be a close game. But for the Buccaneers and Saints, there's really, it's pretty obvious why this is a really good game to watch. Tom Brady versus Drew Brees, two future Hall of Famers. Going to be a great game with really good and young weapons for the Buccaneers. They got O.J. Howard at the tight end position as a young player. They also have Gronk, who's a little bit older. And then Mike Evans and Chris Godwin at the wide receiver position, as well as adding Leonard Fournette. He's going to be explosive in that offense, and you're going to be on your toes that entire game. And before this, I'm not sure if I said in previous episodes, but I wasn't sold on the Buccaneers because they didn't have that true number one running back. I felt like it would be pretty obvious for teams to guess what they were doing. They could just really shut down the pass, and then they wouldn't have a run game. But now with Leonard Fournette, they're going to have a really good run game as well.
Yeah, it should be. I mean, I'm super excited. I'm hoping Mike Evans plays. He is questionable right now. He's originally doubtful, got upgraded to questionable today, but we hope to see him there because, we want to see Brady with all his weapons as much as we can. But, even without him, it still should be a fantastic game. A game that I'm looking forward to personally is the Browns and the Ravens. Now, I think the Cleveland Browns, I mean, part of this is the, Ohio bias in me. With my family being there, but I truly think that the Cleveland Browns could be a very good ball club this year. I mean, I think we're looking at one thing, and that's Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield had a big step down last year and clearly did not perform as well as he needs to. But I think the pieces are now there. They bring in Austin Hooper, another great tight end. They also have Njoku there, who they had before. He was a little banged up. They're both back. The offensive line, they get two great tackles, Jack Conklin, and they draft Jedrick Willis, one of the best tackles in the draft, my favorite one. And I love those two ads on the line. So you're protecting Baker. You got more weapons. You extend Kareem Hunt. So clearly there's a big part of Kareem Hunt in the offense. You still have Nick Chubb, Odell, and Jarvis. So I think the offense is going to be firing on all cylinders. And then the questions with the defense. And obviously with the Ravens and, the Lamar Jackson powerhouse coming in, you're going to need a good defense. And I don't think it's going to be easy to stop the Ravens, and I'm not saying the Browns will, but I think the Browns offense could get it done. But the Browns defense, I think there's a little bit more than people realize there. Their corners are banged up already. Greedy Williams is hurt. He hasn't really been healthy in the NFL. Denzel Ward, though, is healthy. I think he's a superstar corner when healthy. They just acquired Ronnie Harrison from the Jags, a solid safety. Their linebackers are okay. Their D-line has pretty good potential, and they obviously have Myles Garrett. So I think there are pieces there. I wanted to see them land Clowney, obviously, before he went to Tennessee, which we haven't even talked about. But yeah, I think the Browns are in a great spot. But, adding off Clowney, Mac, what do you think about this news? Jadeveon Clowney is on the Tennessee Titans.
That's a big deal. You're adding Jadeveon Clowney to a team who really cares about winning through the trenches, obviously on offense, the run game, and then now you're going to try and win with the defensive line. And on defense, they're going to be their key position on defense, the defensive end position. He could be expected to have a few sacks. I know he hasn't been getting a lot of sacks the past few years, so I'm not expecting him to have more and be a 10-sack guy. But he's going to consistently get a lot of pressure for the defense, push the pocket back, make the QB go out of the pocket, and have to throw on the run. He's a great addition, as well as he's going to really be able to stop that run game and contain the run, make sure, excuse me for being a little bit wishy-washy, but he's going to be able to contain the run game pretty easily if he's working off the edge. He's really good at that. He's going to be able to force the ball right between the tackles, and that's where they're going to be able to stop the run game.
Yeah, I'm super excited to see Jadeveon. I mean, you look at that Titans team, they were kind of the story of last year. They beat the great New England Patriots in the first round. They go on to beat the Ravens, who are a lot of people's favorites. Obviously, they came up short to the Chiefs, but I think that team's in a great place, and Clowney was definitely a missing piece to that ball club. So it should be interesting to see what happens. I don't know if I'm fully sold on them. I think they'll be a playoff team, but I do feel like Derrick Henry is going to start slowing down a little bit. I mean, you can only keep getting all those amounts of carries for so long, and I think he is a huge part of that offense. So I don't expect them to slow down during the regular season. So it should be interesting to see what happens there. I guess my next question, with a lot of new guys getting drafted, making their debuts this Sunday, who are you most excited to see make their NFL debut on Sunday?
Okay, so obviously this may be a little bit biased, but as a Cowboys fan, but CeeDee Lamb, CD for the TD. We're gonna be hearing that a lot tomorrow night. I can promise you that. But I also want to say, with Cortland Sutton, Judy is gonna have a much bigger role. So I'm sticking to the wide receivers, Judy and Lamb. Judy, obviously, he may end up being the number one receiver for week 1 with Sutton out. So you're going to really have to watch him. That's going to be an exciting matchup. And then CeeDee Lamb, obviously, he's going to be working in the slot. But as I've said in previous episodes, I think he'd be the Cowboys' number one receiver down the line. So I just hope tomorrow night he could prove that, and that could potentially be his role in this offense.
I agree with you on those points. I think, CD I'm a little less excited about just because I feel like I'm not 100% sure how much he'll be on the offense. I feel like he'll be there a decent amount. But if they do end up running a lot of 2 receiver formations, I mean, we won't see him as much. Mm-hmm. I agree, Jerry Jeudy. I'm super excited to see him, especially, filling in as that wide receiver 1 potentially this week. Mm-hmm. A guy I'm really interested in is the number 1 pick. I mean, Joe Burrow, I'm super excited to see how he plays this week against the Chargers. I think the Chargers have a great defense too. I mean, obviously, Derwin James, unfortunately, going to be out to start the season. It just does not seem like he can stay healthy, which is so unfortunate for that team. But I'm really excited to see how Joe Burrow plays. I mean, you look at that offense, and besides the offensive line, I mean, I really feel like there's a lot of superstars on that team. I mean, you got Joe Mixon, great running back, just kind of has bad O-line. Has never gotten the holes that he needs to open up. AJ Green's back. I mean, who knows what we'll see of him. He's starting to get up there in his age, but he is a dominant receiver when healthy. And they also have Tyler Boyd. They still have John Ross. They've got guys like Auden Tate there. There's definitely a lot of options for Joe Burrow. So it'll be interesting to see who he ends up connecting with, who he ends up liking early on. Fantasy-wise, I mean, one of these Bengals receivers is going to be wide receiver 2 or above this season. And it'll be interesting to see who that is, because Joe Burrow 100% is going to be passing that football a lot.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And now I actually have a question for you.
Oh, okay.
What do you think is a team that has a chance to have an upset week this week?
Oh,
I'm not sure if you have the
question. I'm going to go, I'm looking at the schedule now. Who could be an upset team? I got my team. All right. I'm going to say the Washington Redskins are going to upset the Philadelphia Eagles this week.
Good pick. Why is that?
Miles Sanders has been ruled out first off.
Yep.
So that takes away from their offense. Boston Scott, he'll fill in. I picked him up in fantasy. If you're watching this and he's still available, pick him up. It's a RB 1 or 2 this week. But he's going to be doing that. Receiver-wise, I mean, it's still shaky. The Redskins do have a solid defense. I do feel like they're going to be able to prevent the Eagles from scoring a decent amount. And I think you look at that Redskins offense. I mean, I'm an Ohio State guy. I think Haskins is going to take a step forward this year. I like Terry McLaurin a lot. I feel like those guys are going to find a way to hook up. Obviously, no more Darius Geis because of the whole sexual misconduct, assault allegations. He's no longer there, which is not great for the offense. Obviously, correct move. Running back's a little shaky there. I'm not sure they'll be running the ball too much. But I feel like the offense can get it going. I think we're going to see a low-scoring game. I think both teams will be under 20 here. I just feel like the Redskins are going to get it done. They got Dustin Hopkins. I believe he's still on the team. I'm not 100% sure, but he'll be kicking some field goals. And, I got the Redskins. I'm going to say they win this one 18-10. to 14.
All right. Good pick there. Good pick there.
What about you? Who's your sleeper win for the week?
I'm not sure if I've talked about this team before, but I'm going to say that the Panthers upset
Ooh.
the Raiders. I love the Panthers. We were just talking about, you said you like the Redskins defense. They're solid up front in the front seven. And I really love what the Panthers did in the draft. They really solidified their defensive line and just their whole defense in general, picking only defensive picks in the whole draft, not one pick spent on offense. So I think it's going to really be a matchup this game between the Raiders offense and the Panthers defense. And obviously, the main weapon for the Raiders offense is Josh Jacobs. They also added Henry Ruggs, the speedster, but I'm not sure how he'll pan out. I think he's the most likely out of all the first round receivers to be a bust, but we have to see how that pans out first. But I think the key to this game for the Panthers will be stopping Josh Jacobs, and I think they could easily do that, pairing Derek Brown, Yetur Gross-Matos, and K'Wan Short. That's a pretty nasty defensive line. They should easily be able to stop Josh Jacobs if they all pan out and are expected to do what they're supposed to do. And then on offense, of course, you got CMC. Like
YMC, my boy.
you could win.
Hi.
You
He's
could win.
dropping a big game tomorrow.
Yeah, you could win with him in any way, in the pass game and in the run game, and that makes him so special. So, although they don't have really many weapons there on offense besides him and then DJ Moore, it's really, really, really good that they have two really good weapons, especially CMC, most versatile player in the entire league, I'd say, on offense, except for maybe Lamar Jackson, who really is super explosive. But aside from
Both
him,
on my fantasy team, I must say.
yeah, but aside from him, I think CMC is probably the most versatile player in the league, especially at back. He could run between the tackles. He could catch the ball anywhere. He has some good power to him, too. He can make a man miss super easily. So I think just let CMC carry your offense and let the defensive line carry your defense.
I'm going to agree with you on that. I like the Panthers this week. I mean, they bring in Teddy Bridgewater. He's going to be better than Kyle Allen. They also brought in Robbie Anderson, which I think goes a little unnoticed, but I think he's going to be productive this year. And on the Raiders, yeah, I agree. Henry Ruggs, I think he has upside, but he could also just be like a guy that you would see on the Chiefs, like a McCole Hardman, who great kickoff returner, great deep ball, but he's not really got the Tyreek Hill receiver in him. You know what I'm saying? Like he's not as skilled as some of the other speedy receivers. So I think that's going to be a great game to watch, and I'm super excited for that. Another question I got for you. Todd Gurley is making his big debut for the Falcons. He's been obviously dealing with a lot of injury issues in his career. And I want to ask you, Mac, do you think Todd Gurley will get back to peak form and be able to take the Falcons to the promised land, the playoffs this season?
Oof. I have to admit, I did pick him in fantasy, so I'm hoping for that. But I'm not sure if that could happen. I think his injury is just a little bit too much for me to say anything now. It's a pretty big injury, and it's going to really affect him all year long, playing or not playing. And I don't think you could come remotely close to what you used to be if you have a persistent injury that you're playing through compared to when you had no injury you're playing through. The only thing I could say that would make him better than last year is that he's more used to the injury now. He knows himself a lot better. So he knows how to make himself feel better before games and during the games. He knows literally everything about his body now that he didn't know a year ago today. He knows so much more. And I think that's the key for him. Just know and trust your body. If you're not feeling it, I'd say then sit out a game or whatever you have to do. Just make sure your body's feeling okay so you can play at a high level all the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's so sad that he has had to deal with these injuries. We saw in that career year from him, he is just a machine when healthy. And even last year, I mean, he's a great red zone threat, which is why I like him in fantasy. I mean, I think he still even rushed for 10 or so touchdowns last year, which is great. And, you know, he's amazing when healthy, and you hope that he can stay on the field this year and be a big threat for the Falcons. Their offense is still dominant. So the question for the Falcons, I feel like, as it always does, comes down to their defense, and their defense likely isn't there yet in terms of where it needs to be. But the Falcons will be there. It's a tough division too. I don't know. We'll see. With the expanded playoffs, you never know what
Mhm.
team can make a run.
Yeah, with the Falcons, once again, I forgot to mention this, but I think another key thing that would help him have a much better season than last year is that he has a lot more weapons on the outside at the receiver position to take the focus off him, where he was really the focal point of that Rams offense last year and the past few years. Although they do have some solid receivers in Cooper Kupp and Robert
Really,
Woods,
yeah.
but they really weren't the focal point. He was always that key player on offense that teams had to look out for. That's who you game plan for. But now it's really going to be a game plan still for Julio Jones. So you're going to have a lot less focus on you. And although you may be declining in the type of offensive line you have, not as good as the Rams, obviously, but I think it'll be a lot better for him this year, although with a worse offensive line, because last year the mismatch with the offensive line, pieces moving all around, all the
Yeah.
injuries, just having to adjust to different type of blockers. I think just the week to week mindset you have is just different with that and all the injuries compared to now, where it should be a pretty healthy offensive line, although not as good. But he'll at least know what he's getting and know the game plan for it.
Yeah. I want to talk a little fantasy now. I mean, I think we both love our fantasy, and we'll come back. I think to end it, with a little more maybe game by game prediction or something like that. Fantasy wise, this week, who are you liking? Do you like is there a few guys in mind that you got that you're like, I think this guy might have a big week?
I would love to say Dalvin Cook. I know he's going against the Packers with a really good front seven,
Mm,
but I just still like Dalvin Cook as a player, and I think he matches up well his body type versus their front seven with Za'Darius and Preston Smith, the
mm.
Smith Bros. I think he's going to have a really good game. If he can make it outside to where he's making at least to the secondary, I think he has the skill where he could easily burn and break out for a few long runs. Although he will have a decent amount of consistency with poor runs. He'll have a few really big runs, which will carry him through fantasy this week. And in the red zone, obviously, Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson, but they really don't have that stereotypical red zone threat. So I think once they make the red zone, he's going to be the player that's getting a lot of touchdowns.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I am going against Dalvin in my the league I showed this week, so I'm praying a little that he maybe doesn't get some touchdowns, but I think he's gonna have. I do think he'll have a good week. A guy I got is a guy. These are top tier guys that we're naming here, but Austin Eckler against the Bengals. I think the Bengals defense isn't there yet. They really haven't addressed it in the draft these past few years. I mean, you go for obviously first two picks in your draft are two great offensive players. They grab T. Higgins and Joe Burrow, but the defensive
Mm-hmm.
aspect to this team, I just am not convinced with. So I think Eckler's going to have a huge game. Another guy, though, that I'm really big on this week is Juju Smith-Schuster. The return of Juju, I think, is going to be back. I think you're going to see wide receiver 2, potentially wide receiver 1 numbers out of him this season. I know they have Deontay Johnson. I don't trust James Conner with injuries, obviously. But I think Big Ben's back. We saw what he likes with Juju. And I do know that Juju has had issues when being guarded, obviously, by these top corners. When he is the focal point of the offense, he has had issues when Antonio Brown was not there, as we saw last season. That said, I think against the Giants, I'm really liking this matchup. I know they went out and got Logan Ryan. He's still likely, though, working himself into this ball club. He still might need to adjust for a week or so. He kind of signed recently. So I'm not expecting Logan Ryan to really be a lockdown in that secondary quite yet. I think he'll be making plays, but there could be a little confusion and we might not see him as much. So I think Juju's in for a big game. There are still very big holes in that secondary. I mean, you look at one of the safety spots is really questionable. Obviously, they do have Jabril Peppers who can play almost anywhere, mainly a safety in the NFL. But I think Juju's in for a big week. Any guys? You can go if you're going to say something.
I
Go.
was going to say, yeah, I'm excited for that matchup as well. I think he may have a hard time if he's going against James Bradbury, But I think if he's going against Logan Ryan at times, I think he's going to pick him apart. I think Logan Ryan, he gave up some of the most yards, like total yards to receivers last year. So even if Juju isn't making a lot of catches, he's going to be getting a lot of yards, especially with that stat that I just mentioned of Logan Ryan. He's going to be getting some big gains against Logan Ryan, of course.
I did forget they had James Bradbury, but still, I still do not trust the secondary a little bit. I just don't. I'm not 100% sure. We'll see how the Joe Judge run defense is. On the other side of the ball, some guys that, you're staying away from this week, you're not loving in fantasy this week.
Oof. This is tough for me, but I'm going to go with a quarterback, and I'm going to say that's Carson Wentz.
Okay.
I like how you said Washington you think is going to upset them, but Wentz, I just feel their offense is going to be lacking, especially without Miles Sanders. I think you should sit Wentz this week because Miles Sanders, they kind of used him as a distraction in the run game to open up the pass with not the best receiving weapons last year they didn't have the best receiving weapons, but this year with the upgrades, they got Jalen Reagor, of course, but they're injured. They got a lot of injuries at the receiver position. And then now Miles Sanders, in addition to that, even the receivers who are playing injured, that's going to be a big effect and take a big effect on Wentz in this game. And I think although Washington still doesn't have one of the best secondaries in the league, not even close to it, but Wentz is going to really struggle this game with some injured receivers, and it's just going to slow the pace down of the game a lot more.
Yeah, I agree. I think Wentz could be a little shaky this week. I mean, he always does have Ertz at tight end, though. So, he's always got his main guy there. I'm going to go for I believe I'm going with, who was I going with? Oh, I'm going to go for a running back, yes.
All right.
Nick Chubb is my pick this week that I'm not very big on. Going against the Baltimore Ravens, one of the best front sevens in the league. Calais Campbell, they added to that D-line. It's kind of ridiculous to even process that good a defense. Obviously, they did have to cut Earl Thomas, who I believe is still a free agent.
Yep. Yeah.
That's interesting. We'll see if he ends up anywhere. But they still got a great defense. And I think Chubb, without the receptions, because obviously Kareem Hunt is considered that receiving back. And Kareem Hunt's a dominant running back. I mean, we've seen when healthy, Kareem Hunt be dominant. And last year, he hadn't played in a while, kind of came in midway. So you got to think that, his production could be even better this year. So if we see a really uptick in Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb's touches could get reduced. And I think without a touchdown this week, we could be looking at a sub 6-point performance in a PPR league this week from Chubb. So I am a little worried on Chubb. I understand most people are probably still going to start him because you can't really afford not to at running back. But I'm just warning you, I'm not expecting big things out of Nick Chubb this week.
Also, I want to say another player this week specifically. I know you talked about him. You really like him, but Le'Veon Bell, running back for the Jets, they're playing the Bills this week. We know the Bills, they have probably a top 3 defense in the AFC, maybe even the best. I think the Steelers, the Ravens, and then the Bills are probably the top 3 defenses in the AFC. And the Bills are really succeeding with their lockdown quarter, Tre'Davious White, and then they have Ed Oliver on the D-line, Trent Murphy, Jermaine Edmonds. They got a really, really good front seven. I think Le'Veon Bell is not going to get the time he needs from the Jets offensive line to get those consistently 5-yard runs. I think he's going to be getting 2 to 3 yard runs consistently, and then he'll have a few 5+ yard runs, but nothing. I'm not expecting a lot of big things from him this week.
I agree. I am very worried about Lev Bell this week. The one thing that, I still have hopes about is he does get receptions, and I'm hoping that, maybe he gets some checkdowns this week or something like that he can find some space at it. But I agree. I am a little worried about Lev Bell this week, and I think he has a tough start to the schedule defensive-wise, which I'm worried about. I just hope the Jets don't give up on him because I do think Lev Bell can get it going.
Yeah.
Speaking of running backs, I'm going to jump away from the fantasy real quick. Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, both extended today to mega contracts. Kamara's 5 years, $75 million. I believe Dalvin Cook is 5 years, somewhere $60 million, I believe.
I think it was 64.
64, that's what I think too. What is your initial reaction to these two major, major, and very expensive signings.
I think both were worth it. I know a lot of experts, they say they don't believe in paying running backs a lot of money, but I'm the complete opposite. Having Ezekiel Elliott as my running back for the Cowboys, I see the importance of running backs a lot higher than most people do, of teams who are fans of teams that don't have great running backs. They
Yeah.
really don't see the importance as I do. But I think running backs are really important. So I'm willing to pay running backs a lot of money if they're very versatile and very helpful in the offense. And I think Dalvin Cook and Alvin Kamara do such that.
Sorry for the time on Max, and that is a busy guy outside the arena. Take precedent, though. Hope you guys know that.
But I'm willing to pay them. There's a decent amount of guys I'm not willing to pay, like maybe in Eckler, for example, where he's a really good running back, but I wouldn't pay him a lot of money because I don't think you're gonna win because of him. I think you could win with him, but not because of him, like some of these other guys who have been getting paid. The examples of this, I think really all of them are paid except for Saquon. I think the running backs who deserve to be paid like this: Saquon, Zeke, CMC, Dalvin Cook, and Alvin Kamara. But I'm excited for Alvin Kamara and Dalvin Cook. I think they're going to be able to live up to this contract. They're really good players, kind of players that at least the Vikings, they really revolve around him in the run game. And then the Saints, they use him in the run and pass, which is really good. I know I said I haven't liked Kamara in fantasy, but that doesn't mean I don't like him in real life. In real life, he's a really good player. I'm just worried about the amount of production he's going to have in carries and things of that nature. But, of course, he's a really good player.
I'm going to have to disagree with you on this one. I'm agree in the point that you got to get these guys locked up, obviously. They're huge parts of both these teams, and you're going to want to have them for the near future. I just am not sold on I hate it because I just don't think the amount of money is worth it. And I'll tell you why. If you look at the upcoming running back free agent class, it is loaded with talent. I know a lot of guys, Kareem Hunt obviously off the board now, and these two are off the board. But there's other guys. Aaron Jones has still not gotten his extension. And, there's a list of guys I honestly cannot remember off the top of my head, but I know it is a stacked running back class. So if you got a stacked running back class in free agency and you got all these guys, I don't understand why, because these guys are all not going to get the money that these guys just got. It's just not possible. And teams are not going to give running backs this kind of money. So I feel like these teams should have waited, and I know they can't. And that's why I'm torn on this, because on one end, they got to get the deal done. But on the other end, the money is just, 5 years, $75 million for Kamara is just, I just don't think it's just a lot for me to donate, to give to one of these guys, because just off of, I'm also worried about injury wise. These guys have both had an injury history in the NFL. They've both missed a good amount of games. Dalvin Cook dealt with injuries across last year. He was hurt the end of the year. And then the year before, he didn't even play pretty much. So he's been injured. Alvin dealt with the injury last year, obviously. And I'm just worried that these guys are getting banged up from the amount of usage they're doing. Obviously, these guys are big guys. You got to get the deals done because you want them happy. You want them playing. You don't want them holding out. But I am worried. We've seen guys like Burley has had an injury history. Le'Veon does not look like he's been worth all the money he's being paid. I'm just seeing a few of these guys, and I think there are those superstars. CMC and Zeke. I think those guys 100% worth the money. Dalvin and Kamara are up there, but I'm not sure I'm willing to give that top dollar. Maybe a few million less, and I'd be happy with it. That's just my take, though.
To piggyback off that, I just want to say a few things of what to dispute that.
No, I've got a FaceTime.
We both got it. Okay, we're even.
1-1.
Even. All right, let's see who gets the next one. I'm just thinking, of course, these are guys you really can't lose from your team. I'm not letting them walk. I don't care how much money I'm giving them. I can't let them walk. And it's smart. I think it's really smart that they re-signed them this year because, as you said, it's going to be a stacked free agent market for running backs next year. And one of those guys is going to get overpaid. And then if these two weren't paid, they're going to be comparing themselves to whoever gets overpaid. And they're like, I'm worth way more than just this. And they get an even bigger deal. So I'm thinking the move is pretty smart in that sense. And then, although you mentioned the injury history, I have to sign these guys. I don't care how much money, but they're players you win because of. As I said before, you don't win with them. Like the players on many teams, like Eckler, as I said before, we'll just go back to him. But he's not going to do anything that you're going to win because of. It's going to be a whole team effort, and he's just going to be a part of it. These guys, I think, if an area of the team is struggling, if they have a good game, you could win from what they do. And I think that's the difference and why they deserve this kind of money.
I totally understand that. And I agree with you that, they had to get the deals done because you don't want to risk a holdout. But at the same time, I mean, it's a little risky as we've seen. I mean, I think running backs are in a weird spot. They're getting a lot of money. And I don't know. I think, my personal take is if you look at what the Chiefs did, they drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Obviously, they've not had a great back, but they had Kareem Hunt at once. And they're now not giving that much money to him. Obviously, he's a first-round pick, but you're getting a superstar back potentially for less money. So I think it depends. Running back's kind of an interesting spot, but I agree. These guys they're game changers, and you're going to have to extend them. My issue is just on the financial side of things, I would say.
Yeah. So something I want to talk about, I think everyone's really excited for it. We haven't spoke on it yet, but Cam Newton, how do you think he's going to fare against the Dolphins this week? What are you expecting from him?
I'm very excited to see how he plays because this is going to be a revamped New England offense. We're not going to see the same offense, the same style offense. It's going to be, I am expecting a completely new offense run by Bill Belichick. You've got Cam Newton. I have never been ginormously huge on Cam. He's obviously been great, but he's been injured for a while now. So I'm a little worried there. I don't know we have no idea. We haven't seen any preseason or nothing. So we have no clue where he's at. I think the upside's there. I think I've heard raving things about him so far in training camp. So I'm expecting he's going to have a great game. And against the Dolphins, they brought in a lot of pieces this offseason. Are they all together? Byron Jones, Kyle Van Noy, guys like that. Will they be all meshed, chemmed? Do they have the chemistry quite yet? We'll see. But I think Cam, one thing that worries me is just the weapons. I mean, outside of Julian Edelman, there's question marks with N'Keal Harry. The tight end position's kind of a question mark. I'm not really sure who is going to be playing tight end in all honesty. The running back trio, obviously White, Burkhead, and Sony Michel. Sony Michel has not been at what they wanted when they drafted him. James White, obviously reliable pass catcher. Burkhead, all right back in the league. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm a little worried, I would say, weapon-wise. But I think we'll see, if Cam is truly in the form that he once was. I think he once made weapons like that into a Super Bowl caliber team. So I think if Cam can get to there, the Patriots could be a really deadly team this season.
Yeah, I agree. I'm super excited to see what he could do. But my question is, as well as you, the injuries. Could he play at that high level? Especially, we all know he's a scrambling quarterback too. So those injuries, is that going to prohibit him from passing a little bit, especially with the shoulder injuries? He's going to run more. But then in the run game, what I'm kind of nervous about, does he still have that same burst and speed as he used to? Obviously, he's, I think, 32 or 31 now. I'm not sure which one.
He's in his 30s, yeah.
But could he? I don't know if he could run at that same level he did 5 years ago, 2015, where they had that really good run there. Of course, with Panthers going 15-1, but losing in the Super Bowl. I'm not sure if he still has that elite and explosiveness that he once had that could carry this Patriots team. And then also the weapons. He doesn't have a lot of weapons. And if he is battling injuries this year, how is the team going to fare if he's not playing at 100%, or if they have Jared Stidham in? How are they going to fare against really good teams in the AFC, even if they do make the playoffs? I don't think they'll be able to beat them, and I think they just have a lot more to prove this year.
I think with the Pats team also, I'll just touch on real quick before we move on. Their defense, they have a ton of opt-outs. I mean, they have the most opt-outs in the league by far, and that defense is not going to be what it was last year. They lost a lot of guys to free agency, and now basically everyone else except for Stephon Gilmore, it feels like they're all not playing this season. So I think the Pats could be kind of a scramble. I think they've been overrated too. I don't think they're going to win 10 games this season. I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, I completely agree. I forgot the rookie's name. Kyle Duggar, that's who it is, who they drafted. Safety from a D2 school. I believe, I could be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he's the highest drafted D2 player ever. So they were obviously really high on him, especially pairing him in the secondary with Stephon Gilmore. That could be something to watch, especially with the McCourty. He's getting a little bit old, so you
Yeah,
got to
they're
find a
going.
replacement in someone else who could make some plays and back in that defense. But they just have a lot to learn, a lot to prove, and we're gonna have to see how things work out this year.
Yeah, I definitely think their defense might be reaching its peak. All right. Well, I think we have kind of jumped around the NFL, covered all the main stories. So I think I got a good way to end this. How about we go through each game and we go through who we got winning each
Yes,
ball
sir.
game this week?
All
All
right,
right.
let's do it.
So I'll actually share the screen right now,
All right.
and we can just get a look of the matchups just to see what we got going. So here we go. We got first game on here. We're going for Jets Bills. What are you thinking, Mac?
Um, Obviously, I'm going with the dang Bills. I have to. It's really no contest to it, and they're at home. Bills, Bills, Bills. Stephon Diggs there on offense with Josh Allen, the big arm, and then you got the speed receivers on the outside, John Brown, and then in the slot, Cole Beasley. A pretty good offense in the backfield, Devin Singletary. Not an elite back, kind of a really middle of the pack kind of running back. And then John Brown, speedy, still kind of a more of a number two than number one. So he's more fit this year to his position than last year. And then Cole Beasley, obviously, one of the best to do it in the slot in the game right now. And then on defense, I touched on a little bit before, but Trey White, who got the mega deal a few days, weeks ago. I don't even really remember. I just know he got that mega deal. And then the front seven with Trent Murphy, Ed Oliver, Jermaine Edmonds, they're really scary. And against a Jets team that outside of Sam Darnold and Lev Bell really don't have much on offense. And then Denzel Mims, I was really high on him coming out of the draft, but he's not playing. He's out hurt. And then a defense that really doesn't have much to it.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just I don't know what the hell's going on, but I'm gonna go with my Jets here. I mean, I'm not gonna say I don't know if they can. I don't know what the hell's going on. Well, there it goes. Okay, I don't know what you're seeing right now. If you're on the screen, we're just gonna ignore that. We're going right in. I'm going with the Jets here, just because I'm not gonna say we're gonna lose week one. I just feel like I can't say that.
Mm-hmm.
Team's a little scary, but I think we're gonna lock down Josh Allen this week. I'm pretty confident Josh Allen's gonna be a little scared of our defense. We got something cooking. Greg Williams did a pretty solid job. More solid of defense. Obviously, no Jamal Adams, but I believe Bradley McDougal. I believe is this, he's
Yeah.
retired. I think he'll fill it in a decent amount, and I think the Jets will cook something up. I think we'll see someone we might not expect to see, maybe like a Chris Herndon or a Jameson Crowder go off. Maybe in Frank Gore against his old team gets in the red zone a few times.
Yep.
Eagles, Washington. We kind of already covered. I think we both got Washington with the upset here.
Yep. I totally agree with that.
Packers, Vikings. This is a good game. I'll start off with this one.
All right.
I'm going to go for the Vikings here. I'm loving what the Vikings have done this offseason. They obviously traded Diggs. They replaced him with Justin Jefferson now. And I like Justin Jefferson. I'm excited to see what he can do. Dalvin Cook had success last year against the Packers. And I think you look at that defense now, and they got Yannick Ngakoue. I mean, we didn't talk about that today.
Yep.
What a move that was. They got a superstar defender. Puts a lot of pressure on the quarterback. I love that move. And I love the Vikings this week against the Packers team that I just feel like there might be some, there's a lot of locker room drama potentially with the drafting of Jordan Love. The offense, feel like the receivers aren't quite there yet. And the defense might take a step back. I feel like the defense will be a little worse than last year. I'm going Minnesota. What about you, Mac?
All right. So I also just pulled this up to get a quick idea of things. It's what teams are allowing fans in, what are not, what stadiums, because I felt like that would be a big part of teams that win this week. But the Packers, Vikings, they don't have any. And I'm going to have to go with the Packers opposing you. They're going away, though. But the no fans is really going to influence and help their win. The Vikings, of course, Yannick Ngakoue, but Daniel Hunter is not going to be playing, so that's kind of a loss. You're gaining a player, but then now you're losing a player for the first few weeks. Packers, I love them. I think they're going to be able to get pressure on Kirk Cousins and really slow down and cover up, of course, Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen. They got Jair Alexander, Kevin King at the cornerback position. Two cornerbacks who could really fare against those two receivers. And then the front seven who should be able to contain Dalvin Cook, although I said I like them. And I think Dalvin Cook is going to have a few really good and big runs this week. But I still think the Packers are going to win this one.
I think it's a respectable choice. I think that should be a good game. Another game where I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think. Browns, Ravens. Last year, the Browns actually went to Baltimore and beat the Ravens. Nick Chubb had a crazy game. I'm going to start with this one, I guess, and I'm going to say the Ravens edge this one out just a little bit. I think it's going to be a good game, and I honestly could go either way on this. I feel confident with both teams here. But I just think the Ravens, Lamar, I just think he's going to go off. I think he's going to have a big game. And I think their defense is still top tier. And I think, Baker Mayfield, they're going to have to figure things out week one, just with the new coach, I just say. Probably still getting into things. There'll probably be a few miscues on the offensive side. So I'm going to go with the Ravens here.
I agree with you there. I think the Ravens are going to get this win. I think a really good matchup is going to be fun to watch is that Browns offense versus the Ravens defense. The Browns' strength versus the Ravens' defense. Of course, their offense is better, but the Ravens do have a really good defense, really explosive last year. They did get a lot of takeaways with a really good cornerback group with Marlon Humphrey there as the key player. Losing Earl Thomas, though, but still corners are great. So that's going to be a really fun matchup to watch there, OBJ versus Marlon Humphrey. And I think OBJ is going to have a much better year this year with not playing injured like he did last year, so he's obviously going to be better. But the Browns defense, they're not going to be able to handle Lamar Jackson, that offense. I think Denzel Ward should be able to cover up Hollywood Brown pretty well, although Hollywood Brown, I'm expecting to have a pretty good year here, adding weight and keeping speed. But Lamar Jackson, if you get him involved in the run game, it's really hard to tell what they're doing. And then J.K. Dobbins, Mark Ingram, the RPO is what really kills teams when they're versing the Ravens, and I think the Browns are going to struggle against that this week unless Myles Garrett somehow is able to figure out when it's the run or the pass in the RPO game. But that's what we're going to have to see.
Should be a good one. Colts, Jags. This is going to be a blowout in my eyes.
Yeah. I like this is one of the games too where they're actually allowing fans at the Jaguar Stadium, but yeah, it's still the Colts. Either way, with fans or not, where some games like the Packers, Vikings, or the Browns, Ravens fans could affect it, but Jaguars, no, that's the Colts.
Yeah.
Colts have got a really good offensive line, but let me just say something quickly. There's really nothing much to say about this, but I'm kind of excited for two players in the Jags defense. The rookies, Kayvon Chason, and C.J. Henderson. So that's going to be really fun to look out and watch them.
Yeah, I think with the Jags, they're clearly tanking, if you couldn't tell. Their draft picks, they've got a lot. They traded Calais Campbell for what, like a 6th-round pick or something crazy like that. They traded A.J. Bouye, Jalen Ramsey. Now, this recently, they cut Leonard Fournette, traded Yannick Ngakoue, traded Ronnie Harrison. We've heard players like Josh Allen. He's obviously still young and there on the defense, but I love the Colts this year. I think the Colts are one of my favorite teams in the NFL this year, actually. I think their offense is going to be booming. They had DeForest Buckner, they had defense, and the running back room's strong there. So I'm going to take the Colts. I think the Colts win this one by 20+. Mm-hmm. Raiders, Panthers, we heard you here with the Panthers. And I'm going to agree here. I think if this game was in Vegas, it might be different just because the Raiders might be a little more fired up.
Yep.
I think the first game of the Vegas Raiders era is going to result in a loss. I think Christian McCaffrey, I'm not sure if you've heard of him to the listeners, but I think he'll have a pretty solid game out there. Yeah. And, I think Teddy Bridgewater will pick up the W. I think the defense will hold their own. I do think Darren Waller will have a big game, though. Watch out for Darren Waller.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I already spoke on the Panthers. I feel they're going to win this game, especially with all those draft picks. I'm not going to really go into it. You heard my pick, but I love their defense.
Yeah. Bears, Lions. This is a good one.
Division game, so that's be
kind of cool to watch. I'm going to go with the Lions here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go with the Lions. Jeff Okuda makes his debut. I'm excited for that. Secondary's not terrible there, honestly. I mean, I believe they have Desmond Trufant. I'm not 100% sure he's
Yeah,
healthy. Justin Coleman, they still have, I believe. So I like that. Corner-wise, I don't think the Bears are that great at presence running the ball, so maybe they don't have to worry about that. Trubisky's in there, a little worried about him, and I feel like Kenny Galladay might not play, but Marvin Jones, they still have T.J. Hawkinson, the young guy, and also a lot of backs there they got. I don't believe DeAndre Swift is playing, but they did just bring in Adrian Peterson, I believe, right? Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and they also have Kerryon Johnson, so it could be interesting to watch. I'm going to take the Lions here in a close.
I am going to 100% agree. Literally, that news when the Bears announced Trubisky is going to be the starter, immediately, it's over for them. That's the first thought that came into my head. And I'm just going to go on a quick little rant. Why would you start Trubisky over Foles? Why? In what world does that make sense? Trubisky has been a bust. It's obvious. And you're starting him over Foles, who's made a Super Bowl run and won. I don't care that Nick Foles, it was really only because he fit Doug Peterson's system. There's really no comparison. Nick Foles is so much better than Trubisky, so that really sealed the deal for me on the Bears when they put that out. But the Lions, I love their offense too. They got Kerryon Johnson there too as well. I'm not sure if you brought him, but Kenny Galladay too. Marvin Jones, as you said.
Well, Kenny's not going to play this week, though. It's not looking good for him, but I agree with you. Marvin Jones.
So, anyways, Marvin Jones, number one, the Bears don't have the greatest quarterback room, but of course their safeties, Eddie Jackson, he's really good. So that's going to be tough. The deep ball's not going to work.
Do they have Adrian Amos too, or is he on the Packers?
He's on the Packers, yeah. No. Wait.
Let's look it up.
I think it is the Packers, yeah.
I believe he went from one team to the other. He is on the Packers. He did play for the Bears, though.
Yep. So, yeah, they still have, of course, Eddie Jackson. I think a lot of people believe this, too. He could be the best safety in the league right now at his position. So, Bears defense is obviously good. In addition to Khalil Mack, Danny Trevathan, Roquan Smith, just a really star-studded defensive front, but their offense is going to really get killed. And I think Jeff Okuda could make a few big plays this week that will make a really big difference in this game.
Shout out to Jeff Okuda, the new rookie, as well as Chase Young. Go bleed Ohio State. David Arnett also went in the first round. Forget about that guy on the Raiders. I don't think he's
a little bit of reach, I think.
A little reach, yeah.
Only around. All
right. Seahawks, Falcons. I'm taking Seattle here. I just think they're way better than the Falcons.
Agreed.
I don't think you really have to go too much in there. Pats, Dolphins.
Wait, I want to quickly just say this before you even go. Why I really am liking and I'm excited for the Dolphins the next few years is that cornerback group. You said Byron Jones, but it's really loaded. It really is. Byron Jones, Xavier
Howard.
Yeah, Xavier Howard. I don't know. I was about to say Xavier McKinney by accident. I don't know why I'm like, because I was thinking about rookies and Noah Benogany, who of course they got in the first round of this year's draft. Kind of got a little confused there, but they're going to be locked down on that cornerback group. So be ready for them to have a really good lockdown secondary this year.
Yeah, I'm excited for the Dolphins. I think their future is very bright with Tua Tagovailoa as their future quarterback. Who knows if we'll see him this year? Ryan Fitz going to start week 1. In terms of prediction, I'm gonna go with the Dolphins here. I think they're gonna get riled up week 1. I like this, and I just think Cam's first game back is gonna be a little shaky. Give me Miami.
Yeah, I like Miami, but I'm gonna have to give the Patriots the win this week. I think just because the Patriots are playing at home, I think they're gonna win this week. But if it was reversed, if Dolphins were home, I believe the other way, and the Dolphins would win.
Yeah, the Dolphins always seem to get at least one win against New England. It's kind of incredible. That Miami Miracle play that happened a few years ago, that was a historic one.
Yep.
Chargers Bengals. I don't know about you, but I think the Chargers are going to blow this team away. I am worried about Tyrod Taylor a little bit, but the weapons are there. I think that Bengals defense is not going to be able to stop the Chargers. And in terms of the Chargers defense, I think it's a great defense. There's going to be a lot of pressure on Joe Burrow in his first career NFL start. So it'll be interesting to see how he deals with that with Joey Bosa, Melvin Ingram coming right for him this week. I'm going to take the Chargers here.
I 100% agree. I think that the Chargers are going to easily win this one. I don't even think it's really going to be close. I think Joe Burrow is going to continue that streak of first overall picks who don't get a win in their first career game. And, of course, that defense, they are just special. You got Joey Bosa signing his new deal. Melvin Ingram, sadly, you lose Derwin James, who is one of my favorite safeties in the league, or one of just general favorite players in the league, because I loved him coming out of the draft. And then Casey Hayward, really good cornerback. He should be able to stop A.J. Green or whoever he's playing against.
Chris
Really
Harris.
good corner, one of the better corners in the league. So it really should be the Chargers, and then their offense, Eckler, and then Keenan Allen should be able to win it for them there.
Yeah, I mean they people even forget they got Chris Harris there. Desmond King, I believe, is still on the team. I mean that cornerback room is stacked, and you got
I forgot to mention Hunter Henry too.
Hunter Henry. Yeah, he's there too. There's a lot of guys in the Chargers people seem to forget, and they have the best uniforms in the league, in my opinion, hands down. These are beautiful uniforms. Teams with more uniforms, Cardinals, Niners. Another news special there. I think the Niners are going to take this one just off the fact that I feel like they do have the Cardinals number and their offense. I think we'll get it done. I think we'll see a big game from Kittle. Cardinals offense, though, this could become a shootout. The Niners defense is strong, though, and I feel like the Niners D will be able to stop the Cardinals offense more than the Cardinals defense will be able to stop the Niners offense. So I'm going to take the Niners.
I'm just trying to check this thing. Okay. So I was originally thinking the Niners were going to win this one at home, but their main receiver weapon, Deebo Samuel, is out.
He's not
Big loss. So you really don't have anyone there that's really going to contribute at a high level at the wide receiver position. I think Brandon Ayuk went to them, right? I don't know why I get confused. I always feel like he went to the Saints for some reason.
He is a San Francisco 49er.
Yeah. So, obviously, Deebo Samuel out, but I don't think Brandon Ayuk could carry the load of that wide receiver group on his own in his first rookie and first career start. So that wide receiver position is kind of scaring me a little bit for this week one matchup, but that is kind of the weak point of the Cardinals defense, aside from Budda Baker, obviously, who's there. And then really the Cardinals, their offense, I love it. They upgraded the offensive line with Josh Jones. They got D-Hop. Really don't have to go about him. Top 3 receiver in the NFL. Easy. And then Kenny and Drake, too, on top of Larry Fitzgerald and Christian Kirk. Although the 49ers have a really good defense, I think the Cardinals are going to upset this game. And I think that Deebo Samuel loss is really going to be the key for this game.
Should be a good one. Another game that I think could be I think 3 of these games that we got left are going to be really interesting. I mean, I think Steelers-Giants. I think we're both going to take the Steelers here. I don't think we really have to go into that one. Buccaneers-Saints. My prediction depends on one player playing. It's Mike Evans. I think if Mike Evans plays, the Bucs get it done. If he doesn't, Saints get it done. Here's why. You got Marshawn Lattimore. Second corner is a little risky. So if you got Mike Evans and Chris Godwin playing, one of those guys is going to go off. There's no way you can stop both those guys. But if you can just turn your focus to just Chris Godwin, you're kind of taking away Brady's 2 weapons in a way, which you normally are not going to be able to do. Scotty Miller, I mean, we don't know what he's going to do. Gronk, O.J. Howard would kind of be the guys, or the run game. But a good D-line for the Saints and a solid linebacking core for me is going to be enough to stop Leonard Fournette. And I think if Mike Evans does not play, the Saints are going to run away with this game. I just think Mike Evans is needed for that Bucs offense to really compete with the Saints offense, which I think is going to put up a show tomorrow at 4:25 p.m. in the Superdome.
Yeah, I agree with all the points you said, but I'm going to have to go with the Saints just based on the fact that they're a better overall team. They're balanced offense and defense, where the Buccaneers are really just heavy on offense. Of course, they got Shaquille Barrett, though, on defense, who should be able to get at least 1 or 2 sacks this game. no doubt. He's a really explosive pass rusher. But the Saints, actually, let me go and trail back to what you said with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Let's just assume Mike Evans is playing. I really like the point you made that I wouldn't have thought of making, that after Marshawn Lattimore, the Saints really don't have that really good number 2 cornerback. They are going to really struggle against one or the other. It depends whoever Marshawn Lattimore is playing, but it doesn't matter. The number 2 cornerback, Janoris Jenkins, yeah, that's the number 2, is going to struggle against whoever else they're playing. So I think man-to-man may not be the way for the Saints to win this game. They got to play zone, and I think that'll help out a little bit. But since they have Marcus Davenport, a player on the rise, just drafted the other year, 1 or 2 years ago. And then on the other side, you have why am I forgetting his name?
Cameron Jordan,
yeah. So really big boy. He got some energy too. When he's hot, that whole defense ends up being hot too, because he just has that it factor about him and that leadership. It's just like pumps up the whole team. So I think Saints are going to get it done against a really good Buccaneers offense, but the Saints offense is really just going to do it and beat out the Buccaneers defense.
Yeah, no, I agree. It should be a great game. Cowboys, Rams, Sci-Fi Stadium is finally here. How about that? That's going to be awesome to see. I think that in the Vegas Stadium, they look crazy cool.
Yeah.
The NFL stadiums are, I mean, you talk about, obviously your Dallas Cowboys Stadium. I think other stadiums are getting up there with the technology level and the craziness of the stadiums. I think we're really getting there. But besides the stadium, we're going to get on the ball game. Cowboys, Rams, we know who you're taking. I mean,
wait.
Go Cowboys in a sec.
Yeah. I just want to say, okay, you guys know he said Cowboys. For me, he said I'm going to pick the Cowboys. Yeah, I'm picking the Cowboys. But one thing before I let him talk is I'm not sure, is the game even going to be played tomorrow night? I see reports that they're still wary on it now because of the wildfires and the air quality, that they're still unsure about this. I just reminded to talk about it because my dad texted me about it. He's like, is there any new news on it? So I want to say that real quick. But I'm not sure if this game's even going to be played. I think it will be played, but I just want to put it out there.
I think it's a dome too, right?
Yeah, but they have some parts of the stadium where it allows the outside air to come in, which they can't close off. So I think that's the main problem. But we're going to have to see what happens tomorrow.
Yeah, it should be interesting with that one. And I think the Cowboys will get it done. I think the Rams, it's just kind of they're paying 4 guys now. Cooper Kupp got an extension today, actually. Congratulations to him. Yep. They just paid Jalen Ramsey a crap ton of money. I mean, that's ridiculous that he's making $21 million a year, I believe, as a cornerback.
Insane.
That's crazy. Obviously, probably best player in the NFL, Aaron Donald. Offensive side, they've got their weapons. Running back's weak now. We don't know what Cam Akers is going to do. Their O-line is, kind of shaky at this point. So I'm not expecting their offense to have a crazy good year. I think unless Jared Goff takes a big step forward. And I just don't think their defense is of the Dallas Cowboys. I'm not sure what's going on with my – can you hear me?
Yeah, your voice cut out. That's why I was about to say something.
Yeah, it just said some mic stuff. So as long as we're good now. Yep. Yeah, I think the 3-headed horse, the Dallas Cowboys got at receiver with Ezekiel Elliott, too, at the running back. It's going to be too much for the Rams to handle. That's Sunday Night Football. Monday Night Football, there's 2 games. Steelers-Giants, we already talked about. I don't really think we need to go into it unless you want to.
We don't really have to. I think everyone has the same idea in their head. There's really the only player you could think of that could maybe make a difference is Saquon, but the whole they really need more than just Saquon to make a difference to win that game.
I think, I agree with you on that. We'll jump to the Titans-Broncos now. I think this could be one of the better games. I wish Cortland Sutton was playing. I think that would make it super interesting. Von Miller's obviously hurt too, so the Broncos are a little banged up. Titans-Broncos, I'll start, I guess. I'm gonna go Broncos here. Weird pick, I know, but I love Drew Lock a lot. Titans, they do have Clowney making the debut, as well as Derrick Henry, but I feel like the Broncos, they had a really well-coached team last year with Vic Fangio leading the charge. They kind of came back late in the season, started winning a lot of games when Drew Lock took over. And I think Drew Lock's a star in the making. I think he's going to become a top-tier quarterback in this league, and I think we're going to see a step forward. and hopefully a big connection with Jerry Jeudy, as well as Noah Fant, a rising star, the first rounder the year prior. They also had that really good running back duo of Philip Lindsay and Melvin Gordon. I just think the defense hopefully will be able to stop Derrick Henry enough so that the passing threat is nullified enough. So I'm going to take the Broncos here in a bit of a surprise pick due to their injuries, I would say. What about you?
I would have taken the Broncos if Sutton and Von Miller were there, but of course they aren't. I would consider them a bit more if Sutton is playing, but that's not going to happen. So I'm going to give the Titans this win here, although it's going to be a bit shaky on that O-line now with Isaiah Wilson pick. He got arrested for the DUI.
He got arrested?
Yeah, he.
Oh, wow.
This morning.
He went to my rival school, actually. So that's interesting.
That's actually cool. I didn't even know that, but.
Yeah, he went to Poly Prep in Brooklyn, New York.
Near here, so yeah. Who knows if they're gonna want him on that team after that? I think I heard it was kind of a big deal for the team. They weren't happy about what happened or how things went down. I could be wrong about that though, but I'm not sure what's gonna happen at that tackle position. But of course, Derrick Henry. I think he's having a monster game. You're taking away Von Miller. You got Bradley Chubb there, kind of replacing him because he was not playing last year, but. Derrick Henry's going to have a big game. Von Miller would have made that big difference in their win. But the Titans, they have to get Derrick Henry involved. But I think if they end up somehow not getting him involved enough, the Broncos could win this one fairly easily.
I think it's going to be a great game. And I'm really excited for this week, for this Sunday. And even, Monday night, I don't know if I'll be watching this game just because of school. I don't think 10:20. Maybe I'll catch it an hour or so. But, I got to wake up early these days. It's a little rough living, so.
I'm online that next day, so I think I'll be able to watch it. I get to sleep in.
That's nice. So you'll get to enjoy Titans Broncos. Probably I won't, but I'll still get it tomorrow, I guess. Or when you're seeing this, I guess it'll be today if you're watching this still. I think we're an hour deep into this episode at least, maybe longer. This might be the longest Outside the Arena episode in history.
And it hasn't even felt that long either.
It hasn't. I love it. We're just talking football. What's better? And yeah, I really got nothing else to say, Mac. What about you? Got anything else?
Really it for me. So do you want to wrap things up or how do you want this?
You can take it. You can take the wrap up. I took the intro.
All right. So thank you all for watching this week's episode of Outside the Arena. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Especially listen in the comment section below what you guys want to see next. We want more feedback of what you guys want to see so it's more enjoyable for you guys. But as always, we are Mac and Griff. Follow us on Instagram at mac.rommel and
at Griffin Senek.
And then our podcast Instagram, Outside the Arena Podcast. And with that, next week, we hope to drag someone outside the arena.